Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Powerful on Purpose. I am your host, Leslie Capps, and this is part of the author journey. So we talk to authors, people in the book industry to pull the curtain away a little bit behind what it takes to write a book, make it successful, how to use it in your business, all the things, right? Today, I'm talking about the 4 decisions to make before you write a book. Right? We've talked about most people don't have a writing problem. It's a decision problem. Every week I meet authors who have 10,000 words, 50,000 words, and they come to me like, what do I do now? Some decisions weren't made on the front end because when we make those decisions, it makes the writing process so much easier. The advice, just start writing, can create a mess, can create confusion for you and for your reader. So today we're talking about the second decision. The first one was, who is your reader, right? Really getting honed in on who is that person that you're speaking to. But the second decision is, what is the promise you are making to the reader? I think this is an overlooked decision in writing a nonfiction book. Most authors know what they want to write, but many don't think about what are they promising the reader. Because if someone picks up your book, you are basically saying to them, if you stick with me through this book, I'm promising you'll be able to do something, understand something, become something. You will experience something within this book. But unless we're clear on what that experience/promise is, then the reader won't be either. So a topic isn't necessarily a promise, right? For instance, I wrote a book about storytelling. Is that the promise? No, it was by the end of this book, you'll understand why your story is important and how to better utilize it. So it's not marketing mindset. It sounds like at the end of the book, this is what I want the reader to have. So learn to lead difficult conversations with confidence could be something that you get at the end of a book. Turn your expertise into a client attracting book. Build habits that stick, right? Within the book, we're educating, entertaining, informing, all those things. But the end goal is what we want that reader to walk away with, something of value. So you also want to keep the promise realistic, right? Read this book and you can make millions of dollars. Is that within your control to guarantee? I can teach you a way to make millions of dollars. Totally different promise, right? And we'll end up 2 different books unless you're clear on what that promise is about. So promise something that the book can deliver doesn't mean that people don't have to take actions from your book, right? To get the desired results. But you're also giving them the map. And if they do these things you suggest, then they're going to get that result. Because again, especially nonfiction books, right? We don't pick them up necessarily to be totally entertained. We want to improve our lives, our health, our business, get in touch with higher powers, whatever it is. We want something from a book. So the next thing your promise should do is become a filter. Does this chapter help move the reader to the end goal, to the promise? And does each chapter follow the last chapter? So I always talk about the book as a journey, right? From the beginning to the end, does the middle actually move the reader through in sequential steps to get to that promise at the end? So by having a promise, you filter all your decisions. Does this belong? Doesn't this belong? Sometimes we get stories that we're really wedded to, right? That we think should belong in the book. But then we can filter it. Does it support the promise we made to the reader? I personally know a chapter I had in my first book, I was really wedded to it, right? I loved the chapter. But as the book progressed, I could see it really didn't add anything to the reader journey. So really shifting our focus, sure, we got a lot of knowledge. That is not the question. But how do we succinctly get that knowledge to our reader so the process becomes enjoyable? the journey makes sense for them. How many times have you read a book where you're reading along and it jumps? Those kind of places stick out to me. So then I'll go back. What did I miss? Well, I didn't miss anything. There's a missing piece in the journey. That's when we lose readers. I worked with someone recently who had 25,000 words, right? She had written quite a bit, but didn't have her promise at the end. What was that end goal? What did she want people to take away? So the stories didn't connect because they were just random stories without that through line, if you will, to where we want the reader to go. What do we want them to walk away with at the end? So keeping that in mind, because it immediately becomes clear, it simplifies the decisions you make for your book. And this is one of my pet peeves, just start writing. Well, I tried that multiple times, just start writing. But then I got confused. I didn't know where I was heading because I didn't have a clear goal in mind. So think about what is your promise that you're making to the reader and how do you set up the steps so you get to that process. So before you write a chapter or another chapter, ask yourself one question. What promise am I making to my reader? If you can't answer that in one sentence, then stop right there. Don't keep writing. Clarify that. What is the one thing, if nothing else, that when they finish your book, they go, oh my gosh, I learned this. I think differently about this. I'm going to try this, whatever it is, because a clear promise creates a focused book. Decision 2, something we don't always think about, looking from the reader perspective. Make your book much more enjoyable for the reader, work better for you, and all around a good deal. Next week, we'll talk about decision 3. You are on your way. Keep getting the words out of your head. I can't emphasize enough how important your story is. Your story matters, and there are people waiting to hear that story. Be sure and subscribe. Catch you on the other side.